Hey everybody, just back today doing a little bit of a Marvel update, and essentially I'm just doing a work in progress primarily on the X-Men, so I was just going to talk a little bit about that. This week I've been, over the last couple days, in addition to just painting some terrain and doing some other stuff, I've just been starting to work on my X-Men now. My wife's away on vacation. Excuse me, that sounds bad, like we're not on vacation together. She's actually at a conference for in Denver, for work, and I used to go there on vacation sometimes with her when she would go to these, but this week I'm watching the kids and working. But one of the things that I'm doing is we are watching all of the First Class, X-Men, Days of Future Past in anticipation of tomorrow, watching the Apocalypse movie, and so I'm kind of excited about that. I'm more of an Avengers guy than X-Men, but I do like the X-Men. They're always sort of, I know a lot of people that like the X-Men better, but I'm just more of an Avengers, but I really do like the X-Men as well. And in some ways, I'm really excited to play the game with some of the X-Men. So what I did first is I ended up painting Colossus. Now, like usual, I'm doing all the bases together for everybody. But I went with the same design as the studio for the choice of the uniform. Sometimes the sculpting forces you to do that, depending on whether the uniform design is to a very specific period. I know a lot of people have been really creative in not doing the studio painting, but I like these colorful ones. My favorite uniforms by far are the First Class. That's just me being just sort of snob. I guess I just like old things. I like original things, retro looking things. These uniforms are probably better looking. If neither one came first, people probably would have liked the colorful uniforms that came later for characters like Cyclops that were in both. I know Colossus wasn't in the First Class of X-Men, but I really do like the First Class look because I just like the retro look. Having said that, these uniforms look great, from this period, and this is probably the period when I was actually around reading them more. Comics was during this period. So I've got Cyclops as well. Tried to do my best to highlight up the blue to give it a bit more of a comic look. And so I just quickly did those. I think I'm going to do Wolverine next. So I've got Wolverine and Rogue here to do next. I've also primed up my civilians to start painting my civilians. And I have here, I don't know if I showed these, but these are little 15mm acrylic bases. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to, I don't know if I got the really big ones or not, to be honest. I think I did. I think I have some acrylic bases that are really large. I already own them. I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think I just have some 50mm ones. I was gonna, in the future when I get more of these guys, I was gonna do some crowds, on a platform, so I don't have them all individually based, but these 6, or I guess I should say these 12, because I just have first 6 here, and then I'm gonna do another 6. I'm gonna just put on these to have as sort of scenery items, perhaps objectives at one point, who knows. I think I've already shown that I have Deadpool. I could actually technically use Deadpool with Avengers or X-Men, although I personally think of him more as an X-Men or affiliated in that universe. So I'm going to, when I finish these X-Men, I'm going to definitely do him pretty quickly. But I got something, and I'll actually open them up because I've got another one here that I picked up recently, and that's Gambit. Gambit's not the most recent release because he's actually out now, but the pre-releases that just came out were actually Nightcrawler, and Vision and Hawkeye. And so I am excited for those ones to come out. Nightcrawler in particular is someone that I've wanted for this game as soon as the game was announced. Big Nightcrawler fan. I actually liked the Nightcrawler series of comics. I think it was a 4-part series. He was kind of like a pirate, swashbuckling type. I loved that series. I have all 4 issues. But yeah, this is Gambit. He's got his deck of cards in his hand and his telescopic pole. And the mini is pretty nice, actually. For those of you that I've been talking about the Knight model sculpting a bit, this is sort of an example of how the sculpting has really, or the casting is what I should say, the Knight model's casting has really improved, in my opinion. Like, the newer ones are just coming out really good. Now granted, these are smaller models, and a lot of times it was talking about the Hulk, but yeah, like these casts are actually pretty good. Now, having said that, I think I do see some pitting there, because that was Richard Tattoo for You. I think he was experiencing some of that. Now that can be filled, although sometimes it's hard to catch. As a matter of fact, I've looked this over quickly and I didn't notice it. But overall, you know, I actually find that it's looking pretty good. So yeah, so that's Gambit. I think he has some interesting rules. As a matter of fact, I might as well just pull it out. I've got it right here. So each one of these characters comes with a card. Because I actually haven't even played the game myself yet, I've read through the rules. I was going to do a series where I talk a little bit about it. I'd be interested in folks' comments if you guys are interested in seeing a little bit how to play the Marvel. I am familiar with the updated FAQ. Because the game is so new, it has been being changed a lot, like in the very beginning of it being released. Some people have kind of referred to it as sort of a beta phase, even though it's released, because the game's been FAQ'd and the rulebook's been FAQ'd. I think in some ways we're in a phase where we get a miniature rulebook, a small rulebook that's free, and we're getting FAQ'd a lot, but it's an anticipation of, in the future, getting like a larger, complete rulebook. So, essentially, I'm not really going to talk about the numbers just in reference to how good they are, just because I don't play it a lot. I can say he's a level 7, which, not the highest, not the lowest. I mean, it goes up to 20. His power level is 6, so that's how many power counters you get, and his level is 7. Give you an example, Iron Man, I believe, is 8, and I believe that the Black Widow is 4. So that's kind of gives you an example. Like Thor is 12, so just as to where folks are. Because he's gray with an X there, it means that he's actually neutral, so he can be used for good guys and bad guy teams, which is actually kind of cool. You know, if you and your group are kind of using the official rules and not wanting, because you could potentially just do whatever you want, like if you're playing with your friend, but in this case, even, you know, for any sort of tournament scene or whatever, you know, you can actually be on both sides. He's acrobat, stealth, and marksmanship are his skills. His attack is he has a bow strike, so with his staff. So he has a melee attack. 52 pickup, looks like it's a ranged attack. Let me just see here. Yeah, because that's a ranged symbol. So he must be throwing his cards with that. They have special effects which are in the rulebook as well, where when you spend extra power to overload it, it gives you abilities. And in some cases, the special effects always in, like this critical stun is always the case. And then he also has this thing called All In. The red actually means that you can only do it once per game, where green is all the time and blue is once per turn. This is a special kind of range attack. It's like I believe this is the expansive wave or the spray. I believe it might be the spray, which uses that template I showed in another video. But don't quote me on that, just because like I'm still rusty with it, like I said. But it's not just a regular melee attack, it's like a template. Then he's got this kinetic control, which actually is a passive power. There's the P there, it costs 0. It's interesting, those powers are interesting. It's when attacking before you select the target, you can change the nature of the attack to energy. So he's allowed to actually, have not only, he can actually change his attacks from being physical to energy attacks, which is interesting, because you have different types of attacks in the game and gives you different options. And then Cheat Death, which is once per game, it costs 1 and it's passive. Cancel 1 attack that damages this character. That's pretty good. So that's interesting. He's got an interesting set of rules actually, and the fact that if that is the spray, which I could probably look it up real quick while I'm talking, but if that is the spray template attack, then he would be the first character in the game that I have that uses it. It is the spray, because I'm just like looking at the rulebook here, and there's a melee attack or ranged attack, an explosive wave attack, and a spray. He's the first character I own that uses the template I bought. I know Rocket Raccoon with his guns does as well. I don't actually have the Cosmic yet. I've not committed to getting the Cosmic as much as I like Galactic Guardians. I'm actually probably going to get those down the road, but right now they're actually releasing things fairly quickly, and these models aren't cheap. And so I'm kind of sticking within the theme of non-Cosmic. Perhaps when Silver Surfer comes out, I'll just have to get it. But for the moment, sticking with X-Men and Avengers and their villains. Speaking of villains, there has been a bit of a leak. I guess there was a technical issue where people found out some of the stuff that was coming out, and then Night Models did admit to it, that it was indeed true, the rumors. But essentially, Jean Grey, so will fit right well with the X-Men, is rumored to be coming out soon, as well as, or actually it's just rumored to be coming out, we don't know when. Emma Frost, another X-Men character, and then Brotherhood of Mutants, actually. So, actual team, villain team, Brotherhood of Mutants, and so a lot of people are really excited about that. Sorry, I'm just drinking a cup of coffee while I do this update here, but yeah, so I think that's actually kind of cool news for everyone. Yeah, so I think that's about it. That's just my Marvel game update, and hope you guys like how these are coming along. Yeah, and so in the future, if you guys are more interested in the game, I'm kind of getting closer to doing a bit of demoing. I'm made some steps to getting my paper terrain together, but I was thinking of maybe even just using some of my bolt action houses and terrain just to sort of get the rules down and just simulate the game a bit until I get the perfect table. So, alright. Hope you guys are having a good one. Take care.